Hello there, Virgos. Welcome to your Teen Tarot reading. I did the reading for Gemini, and when I was shuffling out the cards for you, the energy is very similar to the Gemini reading. And I mentioned the key word for Gemini was more money, more problems. They have to sort things out financially. And I feel like for you guys, it's not so much money because money doesn't really get to your head, but it seems to me like more power, more problems. I feel for some of you, there are a lot of things kind of bubbling to the surface when it comes to your work situation. And you're given more responsibility. So I feel like in the work environment, there might have been a lot of changes. There might have been a lot of people entering the workplace. And they don't have, like proper leadership. They don't have the right people to train them. They don't have the right structure set up to kind of absorb these new employees. And so they're coming to you, asking you, what they should do, what they should be doing, what they should be mindful about. They're coming to you for your skills and your expertise and for your technical advice. And so I feel like inadvertently you find yourself kind of thrust into this position of leadership. And, I feel like you guys are not ones to seek power and prestige for its sake, but I feel that you're in a position because you're in this position because inadvertently these people are going to come to whoever they feel is the most competent. And so I feel like that's what's happening in the work front. And so, yes, it's kind of flattering that, we have a lot of sway over impressionable people. It's flattering that they're coming to us and asking us, how do I do this? What do you think about that? They're really asking you for your advice. And on the other hand, it does come with a great deal of responsibility too, because you don't want to steer them in the wrong direction. And then an added bonus to this is, are you getting compensated for this extra work that you're doing? Probably not. And so you are actually in a very good position to negotiate here. Negotiate whatever you think you're worth. Mainly because I feel like they're gravitating you because you're kind of like, or they're gravitating towards you because you're kind of like that pillar of strength and stability in that work environment. And everyone knows that. It's just one of those things where it's like a given. And so are you getting proper and fair compensation for the additional responsibilities that were just kind of thrown upon you? And one thing I would advise you is, be very, very careful because you're like the workhorse. You're, very perfectionistic. You're a workaholic. You do your job and you do it well. And everyone knows that. And if in the past you've been kind of thrust into these positions without adequate, compensation, and you feel like, oh, they're just, giving me more responsibility without upping salary. Well, this is a time where you need to speak up for yourself, where you need to stand up for yourself. And you can say, I'm taking on all of these other additional responsibilities. And what am I getting out of it? Financially, what am I getting out of it? Is there a title change that you're looking for, like a more prestigious title? Is there do you want more control over over the hiring process? Do you want more control over the whole training process? Or do you just want, additional compensation? Because I feel like you deserve it and you need to be smart about it and you need to negotiate what you feel you're worth, okay? So I feel like there is a lot of power coming into the month of November for you guys. And don't shy away from claiming this power. I feel like you're not going to abuse it because you guys care about end results. You care about, doing what's best for the collective. You're not ones to seek power, to abuse power. And that's why I feel like a lot of the times you might downplay, you might downplay how important you are in a work environment too, but everyone sees how vital your presence is. So this is the month to claim power. Power is kind of floating around you. You need to claim it. You need to claim that piece of the pie. And you also have to understand, with power comes responsibilities, right? I mean, we've seen like superhero movies, and that's just the adage. With power comes responsibility, and that's fine. You're not going to abuse the power. So why not ask for what you deserve? Why not claim a little bit of a bigger piece of the pie? And why not demand that you be compensated properly for the extra work that you're giving or that you are taking on no matter what, because no one's going to do it, right the way that you do it. So bargaining, I feel you're in such a good position to bargain. So, don't let other people intimidate you. Don't feel like, oh, am I really worthy? Don't feel like you need to pander to other people. Okay. So let me talk about this spread here. So that was the overwhelming message that I felt was coming through. And it was very reminiscent of the Gemini reading. So let's just go into this reading. First of all, let me talk about this card. This is a card about dealing with, inner strength and kind of like a very quiet strength. And when I look at this card, I always think of it as the Virgo in person, male or female. But usually it's somebody with a lot of higher wisdom, somebody with a lot of higher truth, somebody who is divinely guided. And they're not ones to hog attention or, fight for an ideological cause. I feel like they have such strong understanding about human nature. And so they're able to kind of like meet whoever they're dealing with on that person's level. And when you're able to do that, when you kind of get off your high horse and you kind of approach people where they're at, rather than talking down at them, you should do this, you should do that, because that person needs to be in the right frame of mind, in the right space in order to take the advice that's given to them. So I feel like for many of you, it's a major, major step coming through for this month where you're going to have to meet somebody at their level in order to understand where they're coming from. And then in order to kind of like create either a consensus, a compromise, so that the two of you can move forward, okay? I do see a lot of you working in a capacity where you're dealing with people who could be either very, very depressed. I also feel as well they're either they're in a jam, they're in a predicament where they can't really see a way forward, and you're going to be in a position to show them a path and to kind of illuminate some things so that they can kind of like get their hopes restored and that they can feel a little bit more optimistic, so they can kind of like bust out of this depressive, funky state, and then they can be a little bit more hopeful about their lives. So I do feel for many of you, you're in this type of a profession where you're either counseling, advising, showing people how to do something, or you are a counselor, especially grief counselor, providing kind of like that light at the end of the tunnel so that the other person can see their way out of it. And I also feel there is a big energy here about you needing to heal your own childhood or family trauma in order for you to successfully be able to do your job. Okay. So I feel like people are coming to you with all their problems. You know everything that's happening. You know about, office politics, who's outmaneuvering who's being selected for certain positions, who's being given a pay increase or a promotion, and who's not well liked in the office environment. So all of these, you're privy to all of these information. And then on top of that, you're also privy to your coworkers, your supervisors, the internal politics and how that affects people's emotional state. Who's not being liked by their coworker, who's like doing a really good job, but they're kind of cutthroat, so then management don't really like them. So I feel like you have a lot of information here, and a lot of people, tell you their business, as is the case. It's always the case with Virgos, because you have that really quiet, wise demeanor about you, and you just inadvertently, strangers would just come up to you, and they end up, telling you their life story, and then they take off. And you're just like, what was that about? Why do I keep, attracting that type of energy? And so while all of these people are telling you all this information, I feel like there are a lot of things that you are it's required for you to kind of like keep in confidence. And also there are a lot of things that you're holding in about your own life. You're keeping people kind of like at arm's length. You're positioning for something, and that was the word that I said last month, and I feel it's coming in again this month. You're positioning yourself to make a move. You're poised to make a move, but you're keeping things very, very secretive, very close to your chest. And I feel like what's happening is there's some major step up or major breakthrough happening in your professional life. Okay, some major plans, major things that are brewing, that are being solidified, that are being talked about between you and management or between you and the people that you're working with. Some major plans in the works. And I feel like many of you are fearing, is it really viable? So you're keeping everything close to your chest because, first of all, you don't like to brag, and then also there's a big, I want to say like, none of it is guaranteed success, but there's always that, lingering doubts. What if I tell people and then it ends up kind of like falling flat, and then I get embarrassed? So then I feel like you're holding things in and you're keeping things very, very close to your chest. You're purposely trying to avoid certain conversations, I feel, as it relates to the work front. And you're keeping things just really closed off, mainly because you're still waiting on results. You're still waiting on resolution. The resolution and the results, I feel it's going to be coming in for this month, okay? And I especially see as well, like the last week of the month, and 6th does come to mind. And I feel like that's when you're going to be able to finalize some plans, be revealed some things. And whatever is being revealed, especially in the work front, just know that it is the best outcome for you given the situation, because I feel like there is a little bit of office politics, maneuvering, and things like that. That's throwing a wrench in the works. So whatever information is being revealed, just know that it is the best course of action given all the information, all the actors that are involved. So don't stress yourself out over it. Don't beat yourself up over anything that you feel I should have done it differently, okay? Because I feel like it's preordained, it's meant to be. And all this worry that you're doing is for naught, mainly because I feel like you're going to have some very, very satisfying results, okay? You're going to have like this emotional fulfillment, and this state is really happy. It's really good because it's the one after the 9 of Cups where, wish fulfillment. It's something that you've been dreaming about, thinking about, and you wanted it very, very badly. And I feel like it's made available for you this month. There's also as well contracts being signed, things being finalized, which is really good that it's happening in Virgo, because we do have Mercury retrograde in Virgo. So I'm glad to see this for you. I feel like you're going to come out of this month kind of like with that energy where you can excel because things are wrapped up, things are signed on the dotted line, things are finalized, and there's going to be that moment where you get to ask all the questions, all the details, and make sure you ask all the important questions. Don't be like this and just go with the flow. You need to, ask. What is salary? What are responsibilities? How many days am I working? What is, sick leave, annual leave? What are bonus commission scale? What does that look like? And at the same time, if I take on more responsibilities, what is pay increase? So I feel like you're in a position where you're going to have all your questions answered. People are going to be very fair when they are dealing with you. This is a very important conversation because I feel like not only do things need to be spelled out, but I feel things are going to be very reciprocal and things are going to be very fair, but you need to initiate these conversations so that you know exactly what you're getting yourself into, because moving into the month of Earth, we don't want to, start out the Mercury retrograde cycle asking these questions that we should have asked in the month of Earth. Does that make sense? So Virgos, you have a lot of things that are kind of like weighing you down, worrying you. There has been kind of like green light, red light, stop, go type of energy, and things have been really, really problematic. It was like lack of direction, lack of consensus. It's almost like feeling a little bit like lack of support from people that you thought you could count on. So there were a lot of, I feel like, reshuffling. I'm sensing at work, and then I'm also sensing it in the home front too. So it's almost like you thought it was going to go one way, it veers off into a totally different direction, and you didn't anticipate it. And then at the same time, I also feel like there might have been, if you're, waiting for promotions, waiting for new opportunities, there might be a little bit of a budget cut if you're working in governmental sectors, public sector, or even private sector. I feel like there might have been a little bit of a budget cut that no one anticipated, and as a result, that position is scrapped away altogether. And then new positions are possibly being combined, and then that is also going to be opening up for you. So I feel like whatever has started out the month of feeling very stalled, very stuck, very frustrating, it starts to clear up. It will start to clear up for you. I feel like some of it has already cleared up. This is indicative of the 7th. I'm doing this reading on number 8th. So I feel some things have already cleared up for you. You're already privy to some information, some insider knowledge. And so I feel like moving forward, it's not going to be, too difficult. And then for those of you, I feel like if you've been really, really worried when it comes to relationships, and I feel like, romantic relationships, if there has been long distance or just a problem with distance between emotional rifts, misunderstandings, things like that within family or within a relationship, a romantic relationship, all of these, it's like, they're saying like burning bridges. All of these bridges are being mended. So you're not going to be going through this alone. You're going to have the love and the support of the people around you. So I feel like let's mend some bridges this month, okay? Let's not hold grudges, and let's just, we also have the Thanksgiving time frame as well in the United States for those who are celebrating. So it's a coming together of family, and family can be very stressful, right? Family expectations of us can be really, really daunting, can be overwhelming, can be very stressful. Dealing with the energies when it comes to like stubborn family members, or, family members that like to tell us what to do, it's always stressful. And, I feel like most of the time, you're not a combative sign. Most of the time, you're opinionated, but you're not combative. And I feel like this is the month where harmony is going to be crucial when you're maintaining harmony is going to be crucial when you're dealing with people. And then on top of that, I feel like there is a mutual understanding coming through as it relates to family members, possibly hearing about people getting engaged, getting married. You yourself could take your relationship to the next level. I do see energies of family, siblings, cousins, hearing about engagement, hearing about somebody, joining together like a union. So I feel like it's marriage, proposals, weddings, anniversaries, even kind of like what are those? A birth, pregnancies as well. So I feel like it starts out frustrating, and I feel like the frustration's done and over with. You have a better sense of direction as to where you need to go, but I feel like there are still things that are really keeping you on the edge of your seat. There are a few things where you're like, I'm sure it's going to be like this, but there's always that, and then things are just going to pan out very beautifully towards the end of this month. Okay, so I'm really happy to see this for you, Virgos. As I was telling the other signs, I'm very, very sorry for the delay with your reading. I'm moving this month, and it's the second move within like a 2-month span. I didn't anticipate this, and so I'm just swamped and stressed out, and I'm burned out, so I couldn't do these readings on time, so I apologize. For this month, I believe I'm not going to be able to do the mid-month reading because I want to spend Thanksgiving, to do the reading. That way they're all on time. And so I am so sorry for your reading. I hope that things work out for you guys. And, it's really important this month. Ask those questions, okay? Don't keep things so close to your chest. You need to be very proactive here about, what are I feel like, what are my hours? What is salary? What is pay increase? Am I getting an additional, title? Like, am I getting a new title? Am I getting more responsibilities added onto the workload? So do I need a different title? So I feel like there are some important things that you really need to be vocal about, to verbalize to your employers, to your work situation, and because I feel like it's necessary. Okay, if you feel like people dump responsibilities on you, this is the month where you need to kind of set the record straight. Okay, so dare to be gutsy and dare to take on that additional power. And power does come from within. It's not the status or the title, it's within, it's personal. So we need to exert our own sense of empowerment in order for us to kind of like change the narrative of the story. Okay, and so I feel like that's the best way for you guys to redirect your energy. So I'll talk to you guys soon, and take care of yourself. Bye bye.